You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back to One-on-One, a KC Sports Network podcast. I am your co-host, Mike DeVito, here with 9-year NFL veteran and Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champion, Jeff Allen. We are bringing you all things Chiefs football from a player's perspective, and I know as a former player coming off a loss like this, it is not a very good perspective. You are hurting, These guys are hurting, but I know they're itching to get back at it. We'll talk about all that. But before we get into it, Big Jeff, Cookie Society, our sponsor, we're 2 days away from October. Talk to me, brother. What do we got coming up on the horizon?
Listen, fall is here. It's officially hoodie and cookie weather.
Pumpkin spice.
We got pumpkin doodle, which is a combination of snickerdoodle and pumpkin combined. We have peanut butter cup. We have Twix, and we have I'm missing one. Maple Pop Tart. Amazing. Also, this is going to release today. Today we have a free shipping code, free ship. So
I saw that.
Use promo code free ship. It expires tomorrow at midnight for free shipping.
Oh, we got to get
some. Get yourself some cookies.
Oh, get it. I'm saving this one.
Yeah, banana pudding.
It's amazing. This is 2.5 weeks. These things are still fresh like the first day you cooked them. I can't believe how fresh they stay.
Yeah.
Check them out, cookiesociety.com. All right, Big Jeff. Not what we expected, brother. Not at all. Tough loss. A lot has been recapped. Check out all of the KCSN content. We've had great people covering that game. It's amazing how smart our analysts are here, smarter than I am. So please go check that out. Let me just toss some things at you, Big Jeff. Tell me what you think. This is the stuff that's on everybody's mind. Bieniemy and Mahomes. Is it an issue at all?
No.
It's not an issue at all.
It's not an issue at all. I mean, this isn't the first, and this is not the last time that you're going to see this from EB or any coach where a player and them get into a spat. It's a part of being competitive. There are some coaches out there that do that aren't, I guess, it's not constructive. When EB does it, it's constructive, and you get something out of it. So it's not a big deal.
So for comparison, when I was with the Jets, I had a coach. How much detail should I give? I'm not going to give a lot of detail, but I had a coach that coached a certain area of the team, and this area was really important to me getting stuff done. Yeah. This was really, really important. And we had this coach come in. He had a different philosophy about how we should do this certain thing, and I disagreed with him. And I went and talked to him and said, look, I don't agree with you. I think we should do this, this way. I think, this is really important for my game and I need to do it this way. And he, and I was a 6-year player at the time. I was a veteran guy, and he basically said, no, we're going to do it my way. And at that point, I said, okay, well, to hell with you then. I'm going to do it this way, because unless you're going to cut me a check on Sunday when I don't make this team, if you say that, then I'll do it your way. But other than that, I have to do the specific thing this way, and I don't give a shit what you say. And that was bad. And what you could tell from that relationship, if you want to see relationship between a player and a coach that isn't good, there was no communication after that.
Exactly.
Right? We did not talk. There was no arguments. I just avoided him. He avoided me. There was no sort of reconciling. That's when things are toxic. When guys are toxic, when guys aren't talking, when guys aren't having those heated disagreements, that means it's just apathy. You're like, well, I'm doing it, and I don't care what you say.
I mean, it's family. I mean, you have things with family sometimes, and the only difference is there's cameras all around, and there's things that you don't catch on camera. There are during practice, there are during training camp, and it gets heated. I mean, we've all, as professionals and as grown men, have had some
yelling at the coaches,
some instance with the coach, because we're all grown men. We all have families. We're all trying to win. And at the end of the day, that happens, and
there's nothing more emotional than when you're coming off the field, right? Especially if something didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen. I mean, we saw it with New York. Quentin Williams in New York was him and his D-line coach
getting into it.
Getting into it. I mean,
and it's not going to be the last time. So people are making
No.
a really big deal out of it. And I sometimes feel like, I don't know, the media, they want to make EB a scapegoat. And I tweeted, make up your mind. You know,
Right.
the deal was he wasn't calling plays at first. And then now when it's not going well, now he's calling plays.
Yeah, isn't that how it works?
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We just got to get the job done. We weren't very efficient running the ball. It was really bad. Missed some opportunities up front. Didn't protect as well as we should have. And special teams were a mess. The silver lining is, despite us giving up the game-winning touchdown, our defense played phenomenal, and they did a lot of good things, and we're going to be okay.
And before we move on to that point, another thing I wanted to bring up too, and some people have highlighted this, but I think it's important. EB is a former player.
Yeah.
Right? So he's in a coach's role, but he's a former player. And being a former player, he has that player mindset. So I guarantee you, unlike a coach who could be a really good coach but has never played in the game, EB feels the same sort of passion and excitement and love, and is going to experience the same highs and lows as the players are, because he's been there. He knows what he's like during a game. He knows what the ups and downs feels like.
And we respect that. We respect that way more from a guy that did it rather than a guy who's never done it and has that same energy.
Exactly.
Like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Shut up.
Exactly. And I'm saying that to say that's the motivation behind his energy. That's why he is so fiery, is because he's one of us. He's one of us, and he's feeling the game just like we are. And I would imagine it's different than a normal coach who's never been out on that field. So put that all in perspective. I totally agree with you. It's just not something to worry about. Again, I'd be worried if they were just ignoring each other and, walking off the field, not interacting at all. That's more of a problem than, some back and forth because you're heated. Now, back to your point, Jeff, the offensive line. This is another thing that people have brought up all week. Are you worried at all about where the offensive line is at?
Well, I'm not, just from the sense that historically, just early in the year, every offensive line struggles a bit.
Right.
Just because of the lack of training camp practices with pads. You alluded to that, and you talk about that. You're not able to do your job well. It takes a while to mesh. But there are some concerns dealing with the competition that we have. I mean, the Bucs have one of the best, if not the best, front seven in the league. So it's going to be another test. The Colts were a really good front seven. They had a good D lineman, and we didn't do a really good job. So I think we need to come out ready to go and give Patrick some time and the ability to step up. And he's not having to run around, and receivers need to make plays. It's a collective group effort. I don't want to just put on the offensive line.
Right.
Offensively, everyone could have done a better job, but it's not as bad as it looked.
Let me ask you this. This is more of a broad, general point, my sort of observation, and I could be totally wrong. This could just be my bias being an old head. I feel like when you look at the current state of the NFL and the talent that's out there, the players are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they're more explosive. The talent is better than when I was started in 2007. What seemed to me to go downhill is the quality of football. Meaning, and I think this is what's playing into the consistency problems, because you talk about the parity across the league. I think one of the reasons for all the parity is because teams just aren't consistent, and they're not consistently playing technically sound football. And it doesn't matter how big, fast, strong you are. If you're not playing technically sound, the team that is usually going to win. And this goes to the point you just said, where it's hard to get to the place that we were prior to these new CBAs that have changed the rules, because you can't practice that much. So it's not surprising when you watch the game that the technical aspect of the game has fallen off, because when you can only practice in 10 padded practices in training camp and 7 during the regular season, especially for the guys up front, it's hard to stay consistent because you just don't have that much opportunity to practice it. And so would you agree? Like, I feel like when I watch these games, and again, it could just be my own bias, but I feel like I look at the players and I'm like, damn, I could never play in this NFL. They're just bigger, faster. I could never do it. At the same time, I'm like, man, this is shitty football. And it's not just the Chiefs. We're talking, it's very rarely is it the Chiefs. We talk about the offensive line having an off day, but it's just across the league. We see bad teams beating good teams because of lack of consistency. And I wonder if it's just because the game isn't played at a technical level like it used to be. I mean,
yeah, and the position that was affected the most is the offensive line.
Big time. That's a great.
The offensive line is the position universally that's been affected the most by the lack of practices and the lack of being able to get those reps. And we see it, especially early on in the year. We see teams that came into the season with quote unquote on paper good offensive lines and rated highly, not doing so well. I mean, Indy on the other side, they have one of the best, and they looked really shitty too.
Terrible.
So, and it is not because they're bad. It has nothing to do with that. Individually, these guys are really good players. It just takes a little bit of time. I mean, it could be a group thing, it could be an individual thing, but it does take time to knock their rust off and get going. And I think they'll figure it out. I mean, it's a long season. We're still a really good football team, and I'm not worried about any of those guys. They're dogs.
No doubt. And my criticism wasn't against them. I do believe. I mean, if I'm taking any offensive line in this NFL, it's the Chiefs. You're going to have an off day.
Yep,
I've just seen it more and more across the board.
Yeah,
good units having off days. And I remember, thinking back from 2012 on, if you look at personally my play, first 8 to 9 weeks, playing great. Soon as those pads come off during the week, I still remember stupid mistakes, standing straight up, giving guys my chest, not keep my head down, not get my hands inside. All the things that when you work with pads, you have to do. But when you're working with spiders and just helmets, you don't have to. In fact, if you do the technically sound things with spiders and helmets on in practice, for those people out there who haven't been in, know how NFL practices work, you're really an asshole. If you're firing off the football and driving guys back, and guys just have spiders on,
you don't want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy. So it's tough. And I wonder.
It's the reason why the league's a passing league now, though. I mean, the quarterbacks are obviously gotten better just because of. I mean, now kids are starting from the age of 5 with quarterback coaches, and skill-wise, guys are just better and they're ready to play early. But when the offensive line is not able to physically do anything in practice, the only thing you can really do is pass the ball. We don't have pads on. So we get really good at pass blocking in theory, but pass blocking isn't passive. Right. And sometimes it gets lost that you can be physical in pass blocking, and that's really important, especially in the interior of the pocket with being physical. And we got 3 of the most physical guys in the league. They just gotta do it. And then on the edge, those tackles just can't get beat right away. Right. Run those guys up the field, give Patrick a nice firm pocket so he can step up and make those throws, and we'll be okay. And that's why the run game looks crappy right now. Yeah. I mean, that's why we don't have the right fits as an offensive line sometimes. That's why maybe the running backs can't find the hole, because this is their first time really going full speed. Right. And seeing these looks and these holes are opening up and they're missing them. So we all collectively got to just get used to it.
And you brought that point up way back when we started, how it, even the first few games of the season, training camp and in the first few games, it takes time for the offensive line to gel. And I can totally confirm that. It's very rare that I played a team week 1, week 2, week 3, where their offensive line was, just everything on. I mean, if you had a veteran group like the Patriots every year, you had the same 5 guys for however long, maybe you get that. But you got to take advantage as a defensive line. You got to take advantage of the guys early in the season.
The only offensive line right now that's come out and looked mid-season form is the Cleveland Browns. And what do? They run the ball. So what do they do in practice? They probably are physical as hell. And every chance that they get, they're running the ball in practice. And that's what they're going to hang their head on. So,
all right. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
You go ahead. Let's get to the next one. I'm passionate about that, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think you're totally right. And I just bring these things up. I'm bringing these things up not because I think they're actually a problem. I think they're what everybody on the outside seems to be pinpointing as a problem. And I think it's important for us to say, not really a big deal. Not worried about the offensive line. No. Not worried about Bieniemy. How about this? The stuff with Chris Jones talking to Matt Ryan at the end that basically won. I mean, that's why Indy won the game, was because of that. I'll go with this because it's being on the defensive side of the ball. I can't imagine what he said. No, I can't imagine. But what I've heard on that field, in front of refs, in front of everybody, right during the middle of the play, most people would probably get arrested if they said it out in real life. And I'm not saying this is a tough guy thing or anything like that, but I just think that's the beautiful part of the game. The one thing I loved about Sunday was you get out there and the rules outside of the football, the X's and O's rules, all the sort of other stuff was out the window. You could be as savage an animal as you want out there. And that's what makes this game fun. Like, I loved it. I used to love it. I remember one time in Minnesota, we were playing the Vikings and we were talking to them all before the game. We're ready to fight with them at halftime, all the stuff, or before the game started. It's like during warm-ups, we're barking at each other 50-yard line. I remember just before we get about for the first play of the game, our defense is talking to their offense, and you got Adrian Peterson and all those guys over there yelling at us, and we're yelling at them and cussing each other out. It's just as bad as it can get. And then everybody comes up and boom, here we go. And now we're bringing it. It's just like that. That's football. That is football. So it's just like, not only can you complain that, listen, you're going to throw this call at this pivotal moment. I mean, what could he have said? What could he have said?
I have no clue what he could have said. I mean, I think that's ridiculous that the ref would throw a flag in a critical situation like that. And I guarantee you, Matt Ryan, whatever the hell he said, Matt Ryan wasn't offended.
No, he walked away.
He wasn't offended. And it's just, I think it's ludicrous that the refs can dictate the game based off of words. It's not something where you harm this guy physically. He's talking about abusive language. This is a grown man playing a savage sport.
That should be nothing.
Those words aren't going to hurt him. What's going to hurt him is Chris Jones power driving him into the ground. That's what's going to hurt. That's what's going to hurt him, not words. So I mean,
it shouldn't even be a rule.
Obviously, we don't know what he said. I've dealt with a situation like this before. I mean, we were playing the Lions in London, and I got a flag right before half. The DN hit Alex late, and I had some words for him right in front of the ref, and he threw a flag. And I turned toward the ref and I said, "You can't fucking do that. Like, you just can't. Like this. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. Like I'm like this. I'm not talking.
I don't. Yeah. Please. I know.
You can't do that. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. And what I'm saying to him is the honest truth. So it is what it is."
I saw that. I was like, could not believe, because the flag came out and you're thinking, what could that possibly be for? And they're like, for personal foul, for whatever. I was
you gotta use your brain in that situation. Even if it was something that you would throw a flag early in the game, you gotta look at the situation. It's 3rd and long. The defense gets a stop. The game's on the line. You don't decide the game with that, man. That's just bullcrap. And I don't care what the situation is.
Again, and thinking of the things that I've heard said in front of refs, done in front of refs, that in the past that have never gotten touched on.
It depends on the ref. I mean, it depends on the guy. I feel like majority of the refs that are reffing the game understand what's going on out there, and that's not going to be a big deal.
Killer. I would hate to be that guy. I would be like, the Chiefs lost because I called a penalty.
I'm sure he got some crap for that from his
no doubt,
his fellow peers. So
yeah, I would imagine he won't do that again. All right, brother. That's the game. Nothing to worry about. I'm really not worried. Here's the key, and we're moving on now, and we have a big game this week with Tampa Bay in Tampa. I believe it's a Sunday night game. Am I correct on that, Joe? I believe that's
it might be in Tampa. You're correct, but it's a Sunday night game. We'll see.
Sunday night game,
and we're praying for everyone in Florida right now. Hopefully everyone gets out of there safe, and if you are there, that you're covered. So
yes, we are praying. Yes, no doubt. Good call, Jeff. Have they changed our game around at all?
No, they're talking about it. I think a decision will be made today. It'll be either more likely Minnesota, but either there or New Orleans, because they're playing out of the country, I believe. I'm not sure.
Okay, got it. Okay, interesting. Well, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But obviously, a Tom Brady run team. I mean, this is going to be another tough test. How do we bounce back? And I've been on teams that have had these losses against teams that were not good, and it could go one of two ways, and it depends on the leadership, and not just the coaches, but the guys in the locker room. With a lot of young guys, the leaders have to step up now, because, again, it can go one of two ways. This could be fuel to the fire, and now you're going to get out there, and this team's going to pay for what happened last week. Tampa Bay is going to pay for what happened last week. That's what you're hoping for, and I've been a part of those games where you can't wait to get out of the locker room because you got to right the wrong that happened the Sunday before. Or guys do not bounce back with that vigor, that attitude, that fieriness, and it becomes a sort of the momentum train starts going backwards. And
Yeah.
now you have a bad play, you have a tough play in the game, something, oh, here we go again. And that losing mentality kicks in. I don't even know of a good word to put it, Jeff, but I'm sure you've experienced before, where it's just like, oh no, here we go. We're going to end. Yeah.
Here we go. Yep.
So this is one of those weeks, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, where the leadership in the locker room, Mahomes, Kels, Jones, the older guys, you have to get the younger guys' heads right on track, get everybody in the right spot. It can't just come from Andy Reid and those guys. Those are leaders in the room to say, hey, it's time to make Tampa pay for what happened. And I know we have the guys that'll get that done. But do you see that the same way?
I see it the exact same way, and it's up to the leaders, and it's just a championship mindset. And I think the guys in that locker room have that coming off a loss. The only tough part is Tampa has that too, and they're coming off a loss. So it's going to be a collision. It's going to be guys out there that are ultra competitive, wanting to get a lick back and wanting to get back on the right track. So I expect this to be a battle. I don't expect this game to be decided in the first half. It's going to be probably a one-possession game, decided late. Maybe whoever has the ball last wins it, that type of game. And it's going to be extremely physical. So I'm expecting for these guys to come out ready to go. I know we're going to win this game. I don't think we're going to beat the Bucs.
I love it. You said it. You know what? I've had some other points. I'm going to stop it right there because that's it. We're going to beat the Bucs, baby. Chiefs Kingdom, thank you so much for tuning in. Quick one today. We're going to recap next week after this win and have a much more positive discussion on our hands. But Big Jeff, love you, brother. Thank you, everybody. Chiefs Kingdom for tuning in. We'll see you again next week.
Go Chiefs. Beat the Bucs.